Welcome back to our live Rumble episode with Sarah Fraser from the Sarah Fraser Show and Rachel Yucatel from Misunderstood. You guys, we have the best show for you today. Don't you think, Sarah?
Girl, I love an astrologer. I mean, I don't know how much of it ever comes true, but who doesn't love to have their chart read? And it comes down to where, what time you were born, where the stars were placed. And I will say this, I'm excited about our guest because of all, I'm sure you have too. Over the years, I've had many psychics on. I've had many psychic readings. Sadly, I have spent thousands of dollars on psychic readings.
Exactly.
And I really became a skeptic with this psychic that was supposed to be Maryland's #1 psychic. And every time she would see me, she would have this whole new reading. I was like, bitch, you don't even remember who I was. You want my $90 and you got a whole new set of shit to tell me. So I gave up on all psychics, but astrology, at least I can get into because the stars were they were set the way that they were set when you were born. Like it makes a little more sense to me than straight up.
Well, it's funny that you say that. It makes no sense to me. I like reading those daily horoscopes, and I don't understand like the moons and the suns and the Jupiters and whatever. But
Yeah.
Amy Tripp is here today, you guys. She is the internet's most notorious astrologer, and I'll tell you why. In 2020, she predicted that Joe Biden would drop out of the presidential race on July 21st, which is exactly what happened. So she wasn't expecting this to go viral. It did. Sometimes she can predict things. Anyone can predict things and not really know if they're true. She did predict it. And then in 2022, she predicted that Donald Trump would be in the election. That he would win the election before he even got in the presidential race. So Amy Tripp is here. She is going to read the birth charts of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. She's going to talk about their birth charts for both the debate and for the election. And she's going to predict live on the air who she thinks, based on the charts, will win. So I'm really excited for this. By the way, before we get into it, I want to talk about our sponsors for the show because we're so honored to have them with us today. So I am very excited to talk about Field of Greens. Have you ever had it, Sarah?
Yeah, actually. And you know what? It's funny because we each picked one, but Field of Greens is advertising with me too. But everybody use your code. Use your code.
No, well, they could use both of our code. Doesn't matter. Well, I'm really excited that they're, by the way, do you like it? Because I hate water. I hate it. I don't drink it. And so the best part about Field of Greens is that you put your little scoop in your little water bottle. And now I drink water all day long and I'm getting my vitamins and my minerals and whatever. And now, I don't know if you got this. I ordered the collagen because I heard it's really good for your skin. I put it in everything I drink and it makes it, it makes your skin glow. How's my skin?
Looking gorgeous.
Thank you. But I actually love it. I love it. I'm drinking it all the time. So thank you for Field of Greens. If you guys want, what do I have off, George? 15% off your order. Go use my code UNDERSTOOD. To get the 15% off. It's really good, you guys. You got to try it. Plus, it supports our show. So thank you so much. Sarah, off to you.
Actually, no, and people need to buy it. It's really great. And I'm sure you did a prep call with them, but they had a doctor on, and he was saying they actually have a money-back guarantee. They're the only sort of green powder company out there. If you take it, I think it's like for 2 or 3 months, you go to your doctor, and your doctor does not say that your health hasn't improved, you get your entire money back.
I know.
And they will.
No one else can say that. It's amazing.
No
and by
else.
the way, there is another green company that has sponsored me in the past that I gave it to my daughter. She literally gagged. It was terrible. I'm telling you guys, it tastes great. It really does.
And mine is Article Furniture. So Article Furniture has unbelievable furniture. They're offering $50 off right now, your order of $100 or more when you go to Article, article.com/TSFS. They are great because they're really known for their customer service in delivering furniture, high quality, whether it's patio, and they have all kinds of different genres of furniture, which we love. So if you're more of a modern galley, or if you like more of a traditional home look, they have you covered. Great rugs. So definitely check them out.
Oh, I'm going to check them out for sure. I need a new rug and some patio furniture.
I got that. Me too. I just got both. Yes, with Article. Love them.
Oh, good. Okay. The next thing we want to talk about is our contest. You guys, if you haven't signed up for our contest, you could win 2 free tickets to the Sphere to see Eagles on a date that you so choose. We're really excited about it, but there are a few things you have to do to enter. And by the way, there's only 2 more weeks, I think, for you to enter. So please do this. Like, stop what you're doing. Do it now. You could pause this podcast even and do it when you listen to it back. But Sarah, you have more of the details than I do. What do they need to do?
Yeah, they need to go to Misunderstood Podcast on Apple and the Sarah Fraser Show on Apple Podcasts. You're going to hit 5 stars and leave a review. In that review, just mention the names Rachel and Sarah. I love Rachel and Sarah. I love when they talk about pop culture or politics, whatever it is. Then you're going to screenshot that and you're going to slide into my DMs or Rachel's because we have to know which profile is yours. That's how you're going to submit it. Also, when you're on Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe. So it's 3 steps. Subscribe, leave a review with Rachel and Sarah in either the subject line or the actual description, and then screenshot your review. And you can DM at the Sarah Fraser Show, at Misunderstood. That's how we are going to be able to track you. We've already
Misunderstood with Rachel is actually the DM.
Misunderstood with Rachel to DM. So we've already had over a dozen entries, and the Sphere, by the way, you're tight with our friends at the New York Post. They have now named the Sphere as like one of the must experience things in America. It's that good.
I haven't been. Have you?
No, I've just driven by it. And I absolutely freaking love that it like lights up and it has like a smiley face. It's so cool looking.
It's so incredible looking.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, if not enough people subscribe, Sarah and I are going ourselves. Okay. We're going to take those tickets. So you guys better subscribe. You better enter because otherwise we're taking your tickets. I'm kidding, but please support the show. Okay.
We have to go with you anyway, because Rachel knows everyone in Vegas. So
yeah, it would be really fun. We might have to make a group trip out of it.
Girl, I want to go on a girls trip with you to Vegas. I mean, I gotta get my life insurance policy set up, but I do. Oh my God, I do not need, Amy Tripp is going to read our charts. I do not need much help getting in trouble. So
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, speaking of Amy Tripp, let's bring her in. Hi, Amy. Welcome to our shows.
Hey, Rachel. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us. So before we start, I just want to let people know for, just very briefly who you are, how you got into this, and what astrology is. Sometimes I think people get confused about what a clairvoyant is versus what an astrologist is. Just give us a little background.
So I got into astrology by accident, really. I was going to get a reading, but I was a skeptic. So I was like, maybe I can teach myself this, because I majored in psychology and I was really interested in human behavior and their motivations. So I thought maybe I could start learning it. And then day by day, I learned more and more and more, to the point where I was able to observe things happening, like events, things like that, timing of events. And so I realized it was real. And once I realized it was real, because I was seeing it happen over and over again, I was all in to studying astrology. And I started a Twitter account just to kind of share my knowledge with other people, because I thought it was really important that other people know about this. So, but I never expected it to turn into a business like it has now, and me doing consultations. But astrology is basically how the position of the planets were at the time of your birth influences various aspects of your life. So astrology can help you learn more about your personality, challenges and strengths you have, compatibility in your relationships, timing and life events, which is a lot of what I do, life purpose, spiritual growth. And a lot of times astrology is used to understand past experiences, going back in time to see where the planets are, to see maybe why events transpired the way they did. So you can use astrology for a lot of ways. But yeah, that's how I started, and that's a kind of a basic definition of astrology.
So you went viral recently because of what your prediction with Joe Biden stepping down. Can you tell us a little bit about how that even happened? I know it kind of came as a surprise to even you.
Yeah, so apparently I just was thinking that on the full moon, because that's a time of revelations, peaks and energy, that if he was going to step down, it would be during the full moon, because like I said, that's when things are revealed. And the moon was in Capricorn at the last degree, and the Capricorn shows old age. And so I was thinking, and the 29th degree shows completion. And so I was thinking, well, if he's going to retire, it will be then. And then someone asked me, well, when is the full moon? And I just replied July 21st.
Wow.
So that's how that went about. And then in 2020, I predicted Kamala would be the Democratic nominee. And I'd actually forgotten about that tweet. Somebody dug it up for me and put it out, thankfully.
Wow. Amazing. All right. So Sarah, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Amy, what about Kamala's chart a couple of years ago indicated to you that she would be the Democratic nominee? Was there something in her chart? And maybe you can tell us what her sign is.
Yes, so she had her Saturn return, which is a time of gaining significant achievements, and there are maybe milestones in your life. It happens at 29, 30, and then again at 60. So that's a very important time for her. And her Saturn is conjunct, which means right on her career angle. So that would show her Saturn return would be directly impacting her career and public standing. And Kamala is a Libra sun. She has an Aries moon, and she's a Gemini rising.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's get right into some of these things that are going to happen in the future. On September 10th, there's going to be a debate. I want to know, can we start with Donald Trump's chart for that night and then Kamala's, and let's see, I want to get a prediction from you on who you think is going to have a better night during the debate.
Okay, well, I will say I think it's going to be a close call. I think they're both going to do pretty well. Donald Trump has Mercury, the planet of communication, writing, speaking, moving through his first house, which would show a quick mind. He has his Mars, which is the planet of action and aggression, on his Mercury. So that could show maybe a greater tendency for arguments or hastiness with speaking. He also has Mercury conjunct his ascendant, which is an important angle in your chart, which would show quick thinking again. So basically his chart shows quick thinking, being clever, that sort of thing, having a strong need to communicate. Kamala's chart also shows she has also strong Mercury aspects to her moon and Mars. So she will be very assertive, but without coming off too aggressively, because it's a trine aspect, which shows ease. And then she has Mercury trine moon, which would allow her to really establish rapport with the public, able to speak how she feels genuinely. So I think that is very positive for her. And she also has her sun, which is the sun transiting conjunct her Venus, which can show someone who's very popular, seen as kind and charming and beautiful. So that's typically a fortunate aspect but for the debate, I would look at Mercury, since that's the planet of communication. And both Kamala and Trump have Mercury aspects that are pretty good for debates. So I would say it's kind of a toss-up.
If you had to predict one who's going to do better, do you have can you make a prediction like that?
Yeah, I would think Trump will do better, or he will win the debate.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I could be wrong about that, but I just feel like he is going to be more aggressive, so maybe that works against him, but his mind is going to be sharp and he's going to be able to think well on his feet.
Okay. I'm as you're talking, I'm curious, can the United States have a birth chart? Like, can you make a prediction about a country?
Yeah. So anything that is born, that's a business or a country, has a birth chart. So yeah, the U.S. does have a birth chart, and it's interesting.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, great question.
Thank
That
you.
is a great question.
So like, can you predict anything in the next couple months? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe is there anything before the election? Listen, we had an assassination attempt. We have all these different things going on outside of the United States that we have our hands in. I mean, are you seeing anything about our country?
I don't have the U.S. chart on hand, but I can say that the U.S. chart has Mars in a place which Mars is action and aggression, in a place in the US chart that can maybe show others an attack by other people or some sort of aggression. And I predicted that would happen around August. That didn't happen, but that was when Iran was threatening the US. So that's a little bit in the past. Future wise, I'm not too sure.
August, we're not through all the way through August. So
oh, that's right, we're not. And for July, well, we can talk about that when we get to Trump. But I'm not looking at the chart right now, so I can't be completely sure what's happening. But I think there will be maybe some unrest.
Interesting. You mean before the election?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
That's such a great. Now I'm like, okay, what's America's like rising sign? You know what I mean? She was born in like 1770.
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. What does a Sagittarius mean? What are the qualities of a Sagittarius?
Very expansive, open to learning new things, very open to new cultures.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like our girl.
That's us.
Like our girl.
Okay. We love America. Yep.
Yeah. America is a Cancer sun, a Sagittarius rising, and an Aquarius moon.
Oh.
Ooh.
And it's said that the founders of the Constitution, like Ben Franklin, he was into astrology. He did the Farmer's Almanac, that they elected this specific date and time because of the astrology that was happening on that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that. That is fascinating. Oh my God.
Incidentally, Amy, what are your thoughts on daily horoscopes then? That all these people really, before they start work, while they're drinking coffee, they're reading these things. Do you think they're accurate? Because they're not going by the birth chart, are they?
No, they're just going by your sun sign, which is just one part of your birth chart. So it's like 30% of, what you would want to look at. So it's not covering everything. Horoscopes are more pop astrology. And if you really want good predictions, you will need to look at your whole birth chart.
Interesting. Okay. And do you believe in those things where they say like, oh, you're an Aquarius, so you should be dating someone who's a Cancer and definitely stay away from a Virgo? I just made that up. But like, those?
No, I hate when people do that because I'm like, you're missing out. The sun compatibility. I mean, it matters, but it's definitely not the most important thing to see in a relationship. So you have to look at how both people's birth charts impact each other, which is called synastry, or basically compatibility.
Right. Interesting. All right. So let's move to what we really want to know about: who is going to win this election. So let's talk about the birth charts for Donald and Kamala for November 5th, election night. Okay.
I'll start with Trump. He has one of the most fortunate transits that you can have. It often results in success or gaining more status in your profession or publicly. And this is going to be Jupiter conjunct his sun and North Node. And I'll explain the North Node in just a second. But Jupiter to your sun, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, abundance, good fortune, blessings. Your sun is your identity. And his sun happens to be his chart ruler because he's a Leo rising and the sun rules Leo. So that makes the sun very important in his chart. Also, the sun is in his 10th house of career. So this Jupiter transit will have a direct impact on his career and public status. He also is going to have Jupiter conjunct the North Node, which is really interesting because this is a transit that Kamala is also going to have. They have their North Nodes at the same position, even though they're born years apart. Wow. And this is an especially beneficial transit. You can be very fortunate, acquire a new job. It might be one of the best transits you can have every 12 years. And both of them are having that transit. Uranus, the planet of sudden change, accidents, reversals, unpredictability is conjunct Trump's midheaven, which is his career and public angle. And we've already kind of seen how that's played out with the assassination attempt, because his Uranus is square Mars, which, like I said, is action and aggression. When you put those two together, that's a classic combination for violence. And some people, a lot of astrologers are saying that Uranus on his midheaven would show he's going to lose. But I disagree, because you have to see what aspects Uranus is making to determine that. And Uranus is sextile Saturn, which is the planet of your commitments. A lot of times it represents your profession. And typically it shows a job change, but something that blends the old with the new. So for that reason, I feel like that more challenging transit may work out in his favor. He also has Venus, which is the planet of love, beauty, relationships,
Really?
conjunct his natal moon. And this often will make an individual really popular. So he has a lot of good transits going on, some of the best you could have. I mean,
So-
there are, go ahead.
And sorry, I'm just curious. So does that mean it's just for that one night, or like if election night happened to happen on November 10th, he would have had a worse night than he did on this night?
So yeah, so the stars change every day, so it would be different. Not drastically different, because some planets move very slowly, so they're going to be in the same place. But as far as the quicker moving planets like the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, they would be in different positions, which could affect the outcome.
Is there okay, it sounds like you're saying that you believe former President Trump will be reelected this fall, but is there any way that Vice President
Well, wait,
Kamala
she hasn't read Kamala's chart yet. We don't know that that's what she's saying. Is she?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now,
I mean, that's not what I was saying, but I do think Trump's going to win. Yes, that's my prediction.
okay, wait, before you predict that, hold on, Sarah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it obviously, I mean, that whole thing went over my head, but it sounded like Trump is having a great night on November 10th.
He basically has a lot of good fortune coming to him, being lucky, expanding, growing, whatever he's doing in his career.
Okay. All right. So now let's read Kamala's and see what her night is going to be.
Okay. So she also has a strong Jupiter transit as well. And like I said, Jupiter is conjunct her North Node in her chart, which is a point of good karma. And Donald Trump is having the same thing. And this shows like rising in your position, good fortune. Like I said, it's one of the better transits you can have over a 12-year period. They're both having that. Jupiter is also conjunct Kamala's ascendant. And that is another great transit for kind of coming out to the world, being on the center stage, gaining influence. So she does have very positive transits as well. But where they differ is Kamala has Saturn opposite Uranus and Uranus square Saturn. And basically what that means would be job changes that would be more disruptive than easier to accommodate. So Trump has job changes that show more excitement and ease, but she has job disruptions or job changes showing more disruptiveness in her chart. Yeah.
Okay, so your prediction is wow. So, we know this election comes down to a few swing states. Have you looked into any, do you see any states particularly going for former President Trump over Kamala Harris, specifically meaning like Pennsylvania, Michigan? What are they going to do?
Yeah, I would have to look maybe at the state's birth chart. I'm from a swing state, North Carolina, but I think North Carolina might go blue just intuitively, but I haven't looked at the charts to say anything with real accuracy.
So let's get you to give us a definitive statement then. You said that both candidates look like they have great charts.
They do.
Okay. And so I want to hear your prediction for that night and why.
Okay.
Based on the charts.
Okay, so basically Trump's Jupiter is going through his 10th house, while Kamala's Jupiter is going through her first house. Jupiter in the 10th house is more about career success. Even though Jupiter in the first house shows success and opportunity and growth, the 10th house is still more associated with your career. Also, the North Node was conjunct both of their charts again, so that's really good. But Trump has the edge as far as Kamala has some challenging transits around Saturn. And like I said, Saturn can represent what you do long term, your commitments, and your professional goals. So because of that, I think Trump's going to win. He has really lucky influences going on.
Oh, Lord. All right.
Wow.
Well, I did not see that after this week.
I could be wrong. I feel Kamala is doing really well. And I'm like, I might be wrong about this, but I really feel, according to the astrology, that Trump will win. Also, that Jupiter transit is tighter in Trump's chart than Kamala's, meaning that is stronger.
So interesting you say that, because I don't know, do you follow other psychics or astrologers online? But every single one of them, they go on and they're like, I just don't see it for Kamala. And you're like, what? Like, none of them. It's very strange.
Really? I don't follow too much astrology content anymore, but everyone's been telling me that astrologers have been saying Kamala's going to win, but I'm sure a lot of people do stuff to psych you out. So, but you're saying that a lot of astrologers are predicting Trump.
The couple that I've seen on TikTok, okay, this is from TikTok, so take it. I guess anyone could say they were an astrologer on TikTok. But there's the one woman, I think I don't know if she's astrology and psychic. She kind of has short, bleachy blonde hair. Yep. She's like, I don't see it. And then there's just a couple of other random astrologers. I'd have to go back and find their names. And they're like, they don't see it either. But to your point.
And it's hard to see right now because we've just come off of a week of the DNC in Chicago, like hyping everything up. It's like a honeymoon phase from what we're looking at with our own eyes watching it. And then in the news, it's like everyone loves Kamala. So, but we still have 75 days or whatever it is. All of that could change. But I mean, again, so what you're saying is from the astrology point of view is it kind of doesn't matter what happens. What matters is what is in your charts, because that's going to define someone, slipping up. I mean, how could it change? Could there be a change?
No, because your birth chart never changes. It's like the blueprint of your life, and the planets in the sky are where they're going to be. You can calculate where they're going to be for like hundreds and hundreds of years from now.
So you're saying astrologists believe that fate is a thing, like whoever wins was supposed to be the president.
I guess there is some degree of that. I believe, co-creating with the universe and, not just, allowing things to happen. But I do think there is some degree of fate that is with astrology from what I've looked at, because so many transits just happen and coincide with what they're supposed to at the exact time. It's just really, really, interesting, crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is very interesting. We will have to have you on after the election to see what happens.
Yeah, but also I predicted Trump, so everyone now thinks that I'm going on one side or the other. So I'm not telling who I'm voting for because I don't want half the internet to hate me, but I've gotten mad, like all the Kamala people got mad at me because I predicted Trump, and I was like, no, this is just an astrology prediction,
Right. It's not your personal feeling. It's just what the stars and the moons are telling you. Okay. So speaking of fate, I would like you to take a few minutes, if you don't mind, to maybe tell Sarah and I what we should know about our lives because of our birth chart. Do you mind doing that?
Yeah. So, Sarah, were you in a relationship or did you just break one off?
No, I'm married. Been married for 5
you're
years.
married.
Yeah.
But does
like,
it have to mean, Amy, does that have to mean a loved one relationship, or could it mean a job or anything else?
A close one-on-one relationship? You just had a transit and it's happening this year. Well, it can show us, I hate to say this, but it can show like a change in the relationship somehow. Has the relationship, I don't want to be too personal, but if the relationship has been strained, there could be a separation.
Oh my God.
Divorce next year. Okay, great.
I feel like we're on the Housewives of Beverly Hills. Remember where they get all this bad stuff? Oh my God.
It's a Dorit and PK moment.
Well, wait, maybe it's not your husband though. It could be something, another thing that you're very close to.
You've already had this transit. Transits go by 3 times. So you already had this transit in 2023, probably around August and September, and then again earlier this year. So if there are any sudden changes to the relationship or disruptions that happened, do you recall anything, or with anyone you're close with?
I mean, not people that I'm like really close with, but you start like potential business relationships and then it didn't work out. But I wouldn't say that I was like super close.
Maybe you're going to break up with David Yontef.
I
hope not. I hope not. But I wonder, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of other good friends but I definitely had business relationships this spring. I mean, again, they weren't like, it wasn't really bad, but I always feel like God's rejection is your protection. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when you get a sign or it doesn't work out, I'm like, that is God doing me a favor. So I never take it personally usually, but okay, I guess I'll have to be vigilant about my marriage.
All right, what else you got on her, Amy?
Well, let me just tell her that it's going to come back in March and April. So those will be the months it peaks in 2025. So keep an eye on those months.
Okay.
And we actually have similar birth charts because we were born 2 days apart on the same year. So I feel like I'm looking at my birth chart because we have a lot of planets in the same sign. But do you have you dealt with, I feel like I'm doing all bad stuff and it's not normal for me to do that. Have you had a lot of intensity in your relationships or struggled with relationships, or did you get married at an older age or choose someone older?
Well, I used to date older men, but then I broke off. It took me a long time to marry my husband. We've been together 10 years, but we married, it took me like 5 years to marry him. I'm very grass is greener syndrome, like a very, very hard for me to commit.
Wow.
And I would say the only struggle we've had miscarriages, like we've had our baby struggles. So we have a son who's 3.5. But even before that, we had this crazy molar pregnancy. And then I've had 2 miscarriages since. And I've had other astrologers read my chart and they said something about where my Saturn is, that it's not impossible to have more kids, but it's challenging. So I would say that's been our biggest challenge.
You have Moon conjunct Pluto. That's what I would say maybe the miscarriages was. Or also you have Moon conjunct Saturn. Moon conjunct Saturn and Pluto. That's what it is. That's what it was. It doesn't always manifest that way, but to me,
does that mean, can I ask a question? And I'm sorry for my ignorance, but does that mean if she tries to have a child in a certain month where she's not in Moon conjunct Saturn, whatever you just said, that it'll actually work?
So this is in her birth chart. If she could get transits to these planets that are very favorable, that yes, it could work.
I've been told, because I'm using an egg donor now. I've been told
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I've been told by other astrologers, do the transfer end of October or November, that would be the most favorable given my chart. Is that
what I would say? If I was doing a reading for you, I would say do it. I'm looking at an ephemeris, so sorry, it's taking me a minute.
No, take your time. This is important.
I would say May
of next year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl, I ain't waiting that long. Let's hope that the stars shift.
Oh, well, if not, would that be a time? Wait, how many months are between
No, I got pregnant in October, November, December, January.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well,
May. That's May. I got pregnant in October and I had my daughter in May.
She was early though, right? That's early.
No, she was on time. Wait a minute. That makes sense. If you get pregnant in October, she's saying May is a good month. Maybe you're having your baby in May. Yay!
We'll take that. Yeah.
And maybe the relationship changes that occur will be related to having a baby somehow.
Well, that's stressful. Yeah, I'm sure my husband's going to be. Yes.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
With number 2. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Also, you have Uranus trying your Venus, but you're married, so that's harder to. Have you had money come in like kind of unexpectedly this past year, or maybe even like earlier this year?
Yeah. Like my podcast business has definitely the past 2 years have been like the best ever.
Yeah, this is actually Uranus is the sign of technology. So doing something related to technology is really good with this transit. Venus is relationships. So I tell people with this transit who are single to get on the apps. So yeah,
well, I'm launching a podcast course. Rachel's going to be my first tester. So
yeah, I'm so excited.
I have a really good feeling about this. So
when's it happening?
Well, hopefully, I mean, it's taking longer than I thought, but hopefully it's launching this fall, October, November.
Let me see what you have going on October, November. Yeah, that's going to be a good month for you. Jupiter's trying your Saturn. So yeah, that's great for professional advancements. Yeah, that's a really good month. You're good with that.
All right. This is exciting.
We got to hear what Yucatel is up to over there. When is our girl Rachel going to meet a man? Can you tell us this gorgeous?
When am I getting married?
Yes. What is going on? Can we solve her relationship issues once and for all with the stars?
Well, right now, Rachel has Saturn going through her 7th house. And Saturn can be about restriction, limitation. Also, like I said, being more disciplined and serious. But when it's in the 7th house, it can tend to limit or block partnerships somehow. If not, usually the person will partner with someone a lot older because Saturn represents older people as well. It's the ruler of Capricorn, which is what I was talking about with Joe Biden. But Rachel, once Saturn moves out of her 7th house, which will be early next year, I think things will ease up. And Rachel has Jupiter in her 7th house, which is very fortunate in relationships. That means she can learn from her partners, also partners who are very generous and giving. So that's one of the best placements to have in your chart for relationships.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I'm over here when my Jupiter and my Uranus want to get together or whatever.
And Rachel has Jupiter going through her 10th house, just like Trump does. So this is a great year for her to expand professionally. And Saturn is going to be conjunct her Jupiter, which would represent starting something new that you want to see grow long-term professionally. And that will be happening around mid-February.
Of next year.
It already happened this year, the month of July. If you started any projects, usually they'll develop kind of slowly, but you'll see it's done with a solid foundation. So you progress gradually, but it's solid progress.
Okay. All right. Well, this is exciting, I guess.
I was going to say, I feel like that's a kind of spot on for you. That's a good one.
But can you tell if like I'm meant to be married or anything like that, or I'm meant to be a spinster for the rest of my life?
You have Venus on your descendant, so that would show in Pisces, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. And Venus on your descendant would show you're more relationship oriented. You like being in relationships.
I do.
You attract a lot of people, but maybe are more discriminating. Pisces usually shows someone who's very idealistic in relationships, or who can put people on pedestals, maybe overlook their flaws, that sort of thing. Do you feel like?
Yeah, that's a little bit of qualities from a love addict's perspective, and I've suffered from that for sure. But we're all three of us are Aquarius. What does that mean that we're all Aquarius?
That we're all kind of doing our own thing, being our own person, carving our own niche. Aquarius is very independent, original, unconventional, kind of doesn't follow the crowd. Also, Aquarius tends to be very intellectual, very objective.
Obviously.
Very open-minded and tolerant, but also maybe somewhat detached sometimes.
Yeah.
People say Aquarius people don't have any feelings. But like I said, it depends on your whole chart. But Aquarius as a sign by itself isn't really feeling oriented.
Got it. Okay. All right. And for Aquarius, is there one type of person we're supposed to be with? Like, are we supposed to be with a Sagittarius, or that really doesn't hold water?
It really doesn't matter what your sun sign is, but if you want to go by your sun sign, then you would seek people who were compatible elementally. So if you had air, you would seek out people with fire to complement that. And if you had water, you would seek out people with earth, because earth and water combine and air and fire combine.
What are we? We're water?
We're air.
Oh, we're air. I thought we were water bearers. I retain a lot of
also,
water.
Yeah, that's confusing. But also, I forgot to say this. Aquarius is one of their main, Aquarians, or however you say it, one of their main goals is sharing knowledge with other people.
That's what we do, all three of us.
Also, technology is usually important in the Aquarian life.
Oh, good. Well, I love an iPhone. Get me a new iPhone, honey.
That's why I don't understand why Rachel's not into astrology, because she's an Aquarius.
I know, and we tend to be a little psychic. Rachel, do you ever feel like you have your own like psychic feelings, or do you just have a good gut?
It's funny. There are times when I feel like I can manifest something and I know it's working, or it's not like I predict something, but I really know that if I'm thinking about it, that it's happening. Or there are times when I'll be thinking of somebody and then they call. Do you know what I mean? Like some weird things like that I'm like, this seems a little strange. But, from what I've read or heard, you really have to like lean into it. I'm kind of a little bit of a skeptic. I think just because of what I've been through in my life, and, I've had not my palm read, but I've had people read my, whatever it is, not even charts, but palm read or doing psychic work. And it, I always come out feeling, not so excited about it. But I will tell you guys a real quick story. In 25 years ago, I was dating someone, and I got my palm read, and she said a couple of things. She said I was going to get engaged. She said, and then it wasn't my palm, it was cards. And she pulled over whatever card she pulled over. She did say that it would be ending abruptly, and that, she's like, but I don't want you to worry about it. But this does show that something will end abruptly. I subsequently, a few weeks later, got engaged. 2 weeks after that, my fiance was killed. So I do believe, and I've always wanted to find that woman again because I wanted her to read me now. But that sticks with me because I do believe that there are people that can read things and they come true. So, I find it fascinating. I have to be open to it. That's all.
Yeah, I've actually myself was a skeptic, like I said, about astrology. I didn't believe it going into it necessarily until I learned enough about it that I could observe it. Yeah. And all the tarot readers and psychics and palm readers I've ever been to have been dead wrong. So I don't know. I think a lot of people don't really have that gift, but the people that do are, really good at what they do.
Yeah. Amy, tell people where they can find you, and if they want a reading, how they can sign up, all that stuff.
So I'm Starheal, StarHeal, across all platforms, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Mm-hmm. And if you want to book a consultation, you can go to my website, starheal.com.
Okay. And I know that because you went viral, you are so booked. I think the next time people can actually get a reading is not until January, right?
Right.
But
Wow.
either way, listen, January is coming at some point. So
Yeah.
if you can't get a reading now, definitely sign up for January, February, whenever, because that time will come around and you'll wish that you had an appointment with her. And also, Amy, aren't you similar to Sarah? Aren't you thinking of doing a class?
Yes, I'm going to do a class in October. It's going to be on astrocartography, which is really interesting because it shows how your chart moves as you go from place to place. So what areas in the world would be better to live in for success or relationships, that sort of thing. So I'm going to teach people how to read their charts for that.
Themselves. Okay. And what's interesting about what you just said, Amy, is that you told us earlier that you and Sarah were born 2 days apart. You have the same chart, and you were telling her that October would be a great month for her to do her class. So October is a great month for you to do your class, Amy.
You're right. You are right.
I should be an astrologer.
I know. Rachel's getting into it. Amy, thanks so much. That was fascinating.
That was fascinating.
Welcome.
Amy, thank you.
Sorry it was so technical, but it's really hard to, describe sometimes. Astrology is like another language, basically.
Right. Okay. So just to recap, you guys, if you came to this late, Amy Tripp is predicting that Donald Trump will do slightly better in the debates. And she is predicting that Donald Trump is going to win the election in November 2024. We will see if she is correct. If she's not, blame it on the stars. But Amy, thank you for joining us. And before we go, I just want to remind everybody to please go on to the Sarah Fraser Show on Apple, subscribe, leave a review that says both my name, Rachel, and Sarah's name in the review. Give her 5 stars, not 4, sorry. Go on to Apple, go on to Misunderstood with Rachel. You can tell. Do the same thing. Subscribe, and then send one of us a screenshot just letting us know what your screen name is for those reviews. We will be reading the winner of the contest of who's getting 2 free tickets to the Eagles in Las Vegas at the Sphere on September 6th, live on Rumble. So please tell your friends, tell everybody. The more people, the better. This is going to be really fun. Plus, it supports our show, you guys. And that's what's most important, to support us, because then we'll support you. And once we're done with this contest, we might have an even more fun one. So you feel free to DM us, by the way, about topics you want us to cover, people you want us to gossip about, anything, because we're happy to do it. We will see you next week, 12:45 on Rumble. And subsequently, our shows go up on our podcast the same day, right? Every Friday?
Every Friday. Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks, Sarah. It's always a pleasure and an honor to see you.
See ya. Bye. Amy was great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to Misunderstood. I'm your host, Rachel Yucatel. Please be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a 5-star rating and review. You can support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/misunderstood with Rachel Yucatel. Do you have ideas for the show or want to reach out? Email us at info misunderstoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's spelled MISS understood. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.